The great hall fell into shocked silence the moment Elara Moonwhisper's lips touched the Alpha King's. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate, the kind born from pure survival instinct when all other options had vanished. Her hands gripped the front of King Kale Nightshade's ceremonial armor, her eyes squeezed shut, her heart hammering so violently she thought it might burst through her chest. She felt him go absolutely still beneath her touch. The assembled wolves, nobles in their finest silks, warriors with their polished weapons, council members in their ancient robes, stared in collective horror. No one moved. No one breathed. The only sound was the crackling of torches along the stone walls and Elara's own racing pulse thundering in her ears. When she finally pulled back, forcing her eyes open, she found herself staring into eyes like liquid silver, ancient, powerful, and currently wide with complete shock. Her voice cracked. I invoke the kiss of claiming. By ancient law, a kiss freely given before witnesses creates a bond that supersedes all others. The words tumbled out in a rush, half remembered from old stories her grandmother used to tell. Stories about desperate wolves and impossible choices, and laws so old even the councils had forgotten them. King Kale's expression shifted from shock to something unreadable. His hand came up slowly, and for one terrifying moment, Elara thought he would push her away, would call the guards, would let them drag her back to— I accept the claim, he said softly. 3 words that shattered the silence like breaking glass. Before we continue, please support us and hit the subscribe and tell me which city you're watching from. I love to know where this story found you. Now let's continue. The hall erupted into chaos. Nobles surged to their feet, their voices overlapping in outrage and disbelief. Council members shouted about blasphemy and tradition, and across the hall, standing near the ceremonial bonding altar, her chosen mate finally moved. Lord Cassian Darkwater's handsome face contorted with rage, his silver eyes, so like the king's but colder, crueler, blazed with fury. She is mine, the moon goddess chose. The kiss of claiming supersedes moon bonds, Kale interrupted, his voice cutting through the noise with quiet authority. He hadn't moved, hadn't pushed Elara away. If anything, his hand had settled on her waist, steady, grounding, protective. It is law, ancient law that even I cannot overturn. This is madness. Lord Brennan, eldest of the High Council, slammed his staff against the marble floor. The girl bears Lord Cassian's mark. The ceremony was moments from completion. Elara's hand instinctively went to her shoulder, where beneath her gown the crescent moon mark burned silver. Cassian's mark, placed there 3 days ago when the moon goddess had announced their pairing. The mark that had felt like a brand, like a chain tightening around her throat. The mark can be dissolved if a higher claim is presented, Kyle said, his tone leaving no room for argument. A king's claim, sealed with a kiss before the entire court. His silver eyes found hers, and something in his gaze made her breath catch. Though I confess, Lady Elara, your timing is unexpected. I'm sorry, she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was apologizing for the kiss or for dragging him into her nightmare. I didn't know what else to do. Because she couldn't tell them the truth, couldn't tell them why she'd run from Cassian, why the thought of bonding with him made her physically ill, why she'd rather risk execution for touching the king without permission than spend one night as Cassian's mate. Couldn't tell them about the girl whose body she'd found in the forest 2 weeks ago. The girl who'd been Cassian's previous betrothed. The girl who'd accidentally fallen from a cliff the night before their bonding ceremony. The girl whose final thoughts Elara had felt through her empath gift, terror, betrayal, and the crystal-clear image of Cassian's face as he pushed her. Kale's hand tightened slightly on her waist, and she realized she was shaking. "Breathe," he murmured so quietly only she could hear. "I will protect you." 4 words that somehow steadied her racing heart. "This is an outrage," Cassian snarled, stepping forward. "She's clearly lying, manipulating ancient laws to escape her duty." "Are you questioning my acceptance of the claim?" Kyl's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Because that would suggest you're questioning your king." Cassian froze, calculation flickering across his features. "Of course not, Your Majesty. I merely suggest the girl is confused, frightened of the bond. Perhaps if we postponed the ceremony, gave her time to—" "No." Alara's voice was stronger now. She lifted her chin, meeting Cassian's cold gaze across the hall. "I'm not confused. I'm choosing." "You don't get to choose," Cassian hissed. "The moon goddess." "The moon goddess gave us free will," Kyle interrupted quietly. "Or have you forgotten that in your eagerness to claim what you believe is yours?" The tension in the hall was suffocating. Alara could feel the emotions crashing against her gift. Rage, shock, curiosity, fear. But beneath her palm, where her hand still rested against Kyle's armor, she felt something unexpected. Curiosity, protection, and something that felt almost like relief. "The claiming kiss is valid," Kyle announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "Lady Alara is under my protection. The previous bond claim is dissolved. This matter is settled." "Settled?" Lord Brennan sputtered. "Your Majesty, with all respect, you cannot simply—" "I can." 2 words, final as a grave. "And I have. This council is dismissed." As the nobles filed out in various states of outrage and whispered speculation, as Cassian stood frozen with barely contained fury, Alara finally allowed herself to truly look at the man she'd just kissed. The Alpha King was younger than the stories suggested, perhaps only a decade older than her own 23 years. His dark hair was longer than fashionable, touching his shoulders. His face was all sharp angles and controlled strength. And those silver eyes, they saw too much, understood too much. "Thank you," she whispered. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Don't thank me yet, Lady Alara. You've just made an enemy of one of the most powerful lords in the kingdom." "I know." Her voice dropped even lower. "But he's worse than anyone realizes." Kyle's eyes narrowed slightly. "Explain." And Alara realized that kissing the Alpha King might have saved her life, but telling him the truth about Cassian might doom them both. Kyle led her through corridors she'd never seen before, passages reserved for royalty, where even the air felt different, heavier with history and power. His hand remained at the small of her back, a steady presence that both comforted and unnerved her. They emerged into a private study lined with ancient books and battle maps. Moonlight streamed through tall windows, painting everything in silver. Kyle finally released her, moving to pour water from a crystal decanter. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a cushioned chair near the fireplace, "before you collapse." Alara's legs trembled as she sank into the seat. The adrenaline that had carried her through the hall was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. When Kyle handed her the water, their fingers brushed. The contact sent a jolt through her gift, curiosity, concern, a bone-deep loneliness that made her chest ache. And underneath it all, duty, always duty, pressing down like armor he could never remove. She pulled back quickly, nearly spilling the water. Kyle's eyes sharpened. "You're an empath." Not a question. A statement. Elara nodded slowly. I try not to use it. Try not to invade people's privacy. But sometimes you can't help it. He sat across from her, his posture relaxed, but his gaze intense. Especially through direct contact. How did you know? I know many things, Lady Elara, including the fact that you just kissed me to escape something far worse than an unwanted bond. He leaned forward slightly. So tell me, what is Lord Cassian Darkwater that made you so desperate? Her hands tightened around the glass. You'll think I'm lying, or mad. Try me. The gentle command in his voice made something inside her crack. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, not with desire or possession, but with genuine curiosity, as if her answer actually mattered. He killed his last betrothed, she whispered. Kyle went very still. Explain. So she did. She told him about Lady Sarah, about the accident that had claimed her life, about how Elara had been gathering moonflowers in the forest when she'd stumbled upon Sarah's body, about how her gift had let her feel the girl's final moments, the echo of terror and betrayal still clinging to her cooling skin. I saw him in her last thoughts, Elara said, her voice shaking. Cassian, pushing her, watching her fall. I felt her confusion, her disbelief that the man she was supposed to bond with. She stopped, unable to continue. Kyle's expression had gone dangerously calm. Did you report this? To whom? Elara's laugh was bitter. Cassian is Lord Darkwater's heir, the council's favorite. Who would believe an empath's testimony over his word, especially when the official investigation ruled it an accident? I would believe you. The simple statement, spoken with such certainty, made her eyes burn with unshed tears. Why? She asked. You don't know me. For all you know, I could be lying to escape an unwanted match. You could be. Kyle's silver eyes never left hers. But I don't think you are. Call it instinct. Call it 3 centuries of reading people. Call it the fact that you're terrified of me discovering you're telling the truth, not terrified of me discovering you're lying. 3 centuries. The words registered slowly. You're older than you look. Much older. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. One of the gifts or curses of royal blood. We age slowly, live long, remember far too much. Something in his tone made her think of the loneliness she'd sensed in him. How many people had he watched age and die while he remained unchanged? I'm sorry, she said softly. For what? For dragging you into this. For using that ancient law without asking. For, she gestured helplessly, for kissing you without permission. You asked permission with your eyes, Kyle said quietly. Right before you did it, I saw the question, the desperation, the plea. He paused. I could have stopped you, could have turned my head. I didn't. Elara's breath caught. Why not? Because in that moment I saw something in your eyes that I recognized. His voice dropped. Absolute terror of the alternative. They sat in silence for a moment, the crackling fire the only sound. Then Kyle stood, moving to the window overlooking the moonlit gardens. The kiss of claiming is binding, he said, his back to her. But it's not a full mate bond. Not yet. It's a promise, an intention. It can be dissolved by mutual agreement within a lunar cycle if both parties wish it. Elara's heart sank. You want to dissolve it. I didn't say that. He turned to face her. I'm giving you information, choices, something it seems you've had precious few of lately. I don't want to dissolve it, she said quickly. Not if it means Cassian can reclaim me. He can't, not with my claim standing. Kyle moved back toward her, and this time when he sat, it was closer. Close enough that she could see the silver flecks in his eyes, the faint scar along his jaw. But Elara, you need to understand what you've done. You've claimed the Alpha King. Every wolf in this kingdom will have an opinion about it. Every noble family will see it as political maneuvering. And Cassian will try to destroy me. Yes. No sugarcoating, just truth. He'll look for any way to discredit you, to prove the claim invalid, to force its dissolution. Then I'll be ready. She met his gaze steadily. I won't let him win. I can't. Something shifted in Kyle's expression. Respect, perhaps. You're braver than you think. I'm terrified. Brave people usually are. He stood, offering his hand. Come, I'll show you to your chambers. You'll stay in the royal wing, under my personal protection. When she took his hand, the contact sent another wave of emotion through her gift. But this time, underneath the duty and loneliness, she felt something else. Determination. He was going to help her. Really help her. Kyle, she said as they walked through the quiet corridors, why are you doing this? You could have refused the claim, let the council sort it out. Why risk? Because 3 centuries is a long time to watch wolves be forced into bonds they don't want. He interrupted quietly. A long time to see the damage it causes, the lives it destroys. He glanced at her. And because when you kissed me, I felt something I haven't felt in decades. What? Hope that maybe, just maybe, something could change. They stopped outside an ornate door guarded by 2 of Kyle's personal sentries. He instructed them that no one, absolutely no one, was to enter without his direct permission. Rest, he told Elara. Tomorrow, we face the council. Together. As she stepped into the lavish chambers, Elara turned back. Thank you. For believing me. For protecting me. For accepting a kiss from a desperate woman who had nowhere else to run. His lips quirked. You're welcome, Elara. Sleep well. But as the door closed between them, Elara knew sleep would be impossible. Because somewhere in the palace, Cassian Darkwater was plotting his revenge. And she'd just painted a target on both herself and the king who'd chosen to protect her. Dawn came too quickly. Elara stood before a mirror in her borrowed chambers, barely recognizing herself in the formal gown the palace attendants had brought, deep sapphire silk that matched the royal colors, her dark hair arranged in an intricate braid. She looked like she belonged here. She felt like an imposter about to be exposed. A soft knock preceded Kyle's entrance. He'd traded his ceremonial armor for more formal council attire, black and silver that made his eyes seem even more luminous. Those eyes swept over her with an assessing look that made her breath catch. You look like a queen, he said quietly. I'm not a queen. I'm barely even. You're under my protection. That makes you untouchable by law. He moved closer, and she caught the scent of cedar and night air. But Elara, the council will try every trick they know to invalidate our claim. Cassian will have spent the night gathering allies, building his case. What should I do? Stand beside me. Say nothing unless directly addressed. And whatever happens... His hand reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear with unexpected gentleness. Don't let them see you're afraid. The casual intimacy of the gesture surprised them both. Kyle's hand lingered for just a moment before he pulled back, clearing his throat. Ready? No. She would never be ready. but she nodded anyway. The council chamber was already full when they arrived. 8 council members sat in a semicircle, their expressions ranging from stern disapproval to barely concealed hostility. Cassian stood off to the side with his father, Lord Darkwater, a silver-haired man whose cold eyes promised retribution. And seated in the gallery were dozens of noble families, all eager to witness the spectacle. Kyle led Alara to the center of the chamber, positioning her slightly behind him, protective without being possessive. His presence at her back felt like a shield. "This council convenes," Lord Brennan announced, "to address the unprecedented events of last night's ceremony." "There's nothing to address," Kyle said calmly. The kiss of claiming was witnessed by the entire court. The law is clear. "The law," Councillor Thane interjected, a thin man with calculating eyes, "was designed for different circumstances, not for frightened girls making impulsive decisions to escape their divine destiny. My daughter was chosen by the moon goddess herself," Lord Darkwater added, his voice carrying gravitas. "Lord Cassian bore her mark. The bond was sanctified, for the king to interfere. I didn't interfere." Kale's tone sharpened. "Lady Alara invoked ancient law. I accepted. That is not interference. That is honoring tradition far older than moon bonds. Tradition that hasn't been invoked in over 2 centuries. Lord Brennan slammed his staff. "Your Majesty, with respect, the girl clearly doesn't understand what she's done. The kiss of claiming creates obligations, expectations." "I understand perfectly," Alara said, her voice clear despite her racing heart. Every eye turned to her. Kale's hand moved almost imperceptibly, his knuckles brushing against hers in silent support. "Then explain, child," Lord Darkwater said with false gentleness. "Why would you insult Lord Cassian, a worthy mate of noble blood, by throwing yourself at the king?" The trap was obvious. Any answer she gave would sound either foolish or calculated. "Because I choose autonomy over destiny," Alara said carefully. "And King Kyle represents a choice made freely, not a fate imposed." "Pretty words." Cassian spoke for the first time, his voice smooth as silk over steel. "But we all know the truth. You're using the king as a shield because you're afraid of a real bond, afraid of the intimacy, the surrender required." "I'm not afraid of intimacy," Alara interrupted, meeting his gaze directly. "I'm afraid of cruelty disguised as destiny." The chamber went silent. Cassian's expression darkened. "You dare accuse me?" "I accuse no one," Alara said quickly, but her voice remained steady. "I simply state that I felt no connection to you, Lord Cassian, no warmth, no safety, and when I looked into my future as your mate, all I saw was—" She stopped, choosing her words carefully. "Darkness." "Your gift," Councillor Thane said suddenly. "You're an empath. You sensed Lord Cassian's emotions and found them lacking." It was another trap. If she said yes, she'd be admitting she'd judged Cassian based on emotion rather than logic. If she said no, her entire justification crumbled. "I sensed enough to know I would not survive that bond," she said quietly. "Not as myself." "Dramatic nonsense," Lord Darkwater scoffed. "Your Majesty, surely you see this for what it is. A sheltered girl having cold feet, using ancient law to escape responsibility." "What I see," Kale said, his voice dropping to something dangerous, "is a woman exercising her right to choose. Something this council seems to have forgotten is her right. Rights must be balanced against duty. Must they?" Kyle stepped forward. and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Tell me, Councillor Thane, how many Omegas have petitioned this council for bond dissolutions in the past decade?" Thane shifted uncomfortably. "That's not relevant." 47. Kyle continued, as if he hadn't spoken. 47 petitions. Do you know how many were granted? Silence. "None," Kyle said softly. "Not one. Because this council believes duty supersedes happiness. Tradition supersedes choice. Divine will supersedes free will." His silver eyes swept across them all. "I'm beginning to think this council has forgotten what leadership actually means." "Your Majesty," Lord Brennan said stiffly, "we do not question your judgment, but the girl's actions last night were impulsive, emotional, and legally binding." Kael's tone left no room for argument. "The kiss of claiming stands." Cassian moved forward, his composure finally cracking. "This is absurd. She bears my mark. The moon goddess chose me. You cannot simply—" He reached for Elara, his hand shooting out to grab her arm, to show the mark, to prove his claim. Kael moved faster. One moment Cassian was reaching, the next Kael's hand had caught his wrist mid-air, his grip like iron. The king's eyes flashed with something primal, something that made even the council members lean back in their seats. "Touch her," Kael said quietly, "and you'll lose that hand." The threat hung in the air, not melodramatic, but stated with such calm certainty that no one doubted he meant it. Cassian yanked his hand back, his face flushed with rage and humiliation. "You can't protect her forever." "Watch me." The challenge was clear. Cassian's eyes promised violence, but he stepped back, his father's hand on his shoulder restraining him. "This matter is not settled," Lord Darkwater said coldly. "We invoke the right of investigation. If the girl's claim is found to be based on false pretenses or manipulation—" "Investigate all you want," Kyle interrupted. "You'll find nothing but a woman exercising her legal rights." He turned to Elara, his voice softening. "Come, we're done here." As they left the council chamber, Elara felt Cassian's gaze boring into her back, cold, calculating, promising retribution. But she also felt Kael's hand, steady at her back, reminding her she wasn't alone. "That went better than expected," Kyle murmured once they were in the corridor. "He threatened me." "I know." Kyle's jaw tightened. "And now I know he's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. Or they get dangerous. That too." He glanced at her. "Which is why you're not leaving my sight until we figure out exactly what Cassian Darkwater is hiding." Elara's gift flared as their eyes met, and what she sensed in him made her breath catch. Not just protection, not just duty, but something deeper. Something that felt almost like possessiveness. The kind that had nothing to do with politics, and everything to do with the way he'd looked at her when she'd kissed him. "Kael," she whispered, "what are we doing?" His expression softened. "Surviving. Together." But as they walked through the palace corridors, Elara couldn't shake the feeling that survival was only the beginning, and that the kiss she'd meant as escape might become something far more complicated. Kyle brought her to the palace archives, a vast room filled with ancient scrolls and leather-bound texts that smelled of dust and old magic. Moonlight filtered through high windows, casting everything in silver blue. "If Cassian killed his betrothed, there will be evidence," Kyle said, pulling down a record book. "Investigative reports, witness statements, burial records. Something won't add up." Elara watched him work, noting the way his brow furrowed in concentration, the methodical precision with which he searched. "You really believe me? I told you I did." He glanced up. "Why does that surprise you?" "Because no one else would. An empath's testimony isn't considered reliable. We feel too much, they say. Get confused between our emotions and others. That's convenient reasoning for people who want to dismiss inconvenient truths." Kael set down one book and reached for another, and Alara noticed him wince slightly. "You're hurt." "It's nothing." But she'd already moved closer, her gift flaring. Through proximity alone she felt the dull ache in his shoulder. Old injury, poorly healed, aggravated by this morning's confrontation with Cassian. "Let me help," she said softly. "Alara, please. I'm a healer, or I was training to be one before her life had fallen apart. Let me do something useful instead of just hiding behind you." Kael studied her for a long moment, then slowly removed his formal jacket. Beneath, his shirt revealed the strong lines of his shoulders, and when he turned slightly, she saw the scar, a vicious mark that spoke of claws and old battles. "Silver poisoning," he said quietly. "Decades old. It never fully healed." Alara's hands hovered over the scar, not quite touching. "May I?" He nodded, and she placed her palms against his shoulder. The contact sent a flood of sensation through her gift, not just physical pain, but emotional, loneliness that ran bone deep. The weight of centuries spent making impossible decisions, the exhaustion of always being strong, always being right, always carrying everyone else's burdens, while his own wounds never healed. "You carry too much," she whispered. Kael went very still under her touch. "What do you feel?" "Everything. You won't let anyone else see." Her fingers moved gently over the scar, drawing out the old poison with her gift, a technique her grandmother had taught her. "You're tired, Kael. So tired. But you can never stop, can you? Never rest. Never let anyone close enough to—" She stopped, realizing she was invading his privacy. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't—" "Don't apologize." His voice was rough. "No one has—" He paused. "No one has seen me in a very long time." Her hands stilled, but she didn't pull away. The pain in his shoulder was easing, the old poison dissipating under her touch. But the emotional ache remained. That couldn't be healed so easily. "Why did you really accept my kiss?" she asked quietly. Kael turned to face her, and suddenly they were very close. Close enough that she could see the silver flecks in his eyes, could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Because for 3 centuries I've watched wolves be forced into bonds they didn't choose," he said. "I've seen the damage it causes, the lives it destroys, and I was tired of being complicit in that suffering. That's not the whole truth." His lips quirked slightly. "Perceptive. It's my gift." "No." He reached up, his fingers brushing her cheek with unexpected tenderness. "It's you. You see things others miss, feel things others ignore." His voice dropped. "When you kissed me, I felt something I haven't felt in decades." "What?" "Wanted. Not as a king, not as a political alliance, but as—" He struggled for words. "As someone who might understand what it means to be trapped by duty." Alara's breath caught. Through her gift, she felt the truth of his words, the loneliness that came from always being the Alpha King, never just Kael. From making every decision with the kingdom in mind, never his own heart. "I understand," she whispered. "More than you know." His hand cupped her face fully now, thumb tracing her cheekbone. Elara, I need you to know something. This claim, it started as protection, as a way to save you from Cassian. But if we continue, if we let this become real, it will complicate everything. Yes. And Cassian will use it against us. Yes. And the Council will fight us at every turn. Yes. His forehead rested against hers. So tell me to stop. Tell me to keep this purely political, purely protective. Tell me not to. What if I don't want you to stop? The words hung between them, honest and terrifying. Kyle's breath hitched. Then we're both in trouble. I've been in trouble since the moment I kissed you. That was survival. And this? She tilted her face up, her lips inches from his. What is this? Dangerous, he murmured. This is dangerous. But he didn't pull away. Neither did she. The space between them felt charged, electric. Elara's gift flared, feeling his desire warring with his control, his longing battling his duty. He wanted to kiss her, really kiss her. Not the desperate survival kiss from last night, but something real and chosen. Kyle, she whispered. A sharp knock shattered the moment. They sprang apart as Captain Aldrich entered, his expression grim. Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but we found something about Lady Sarah's death. Kyle's entire demeanor shifted, from the man who'd been about to kiss her to the Alpha King in an instant. Show me. But as they followed Aldrich from the archives, Kyle's hand found hers in the shadows and squeezed. Later, the touch promised. We'll finish this later. If they survived, what came next? Captain Aldrich led them to a private chamber where evidence was laid out on a table like pieces of a damning puzzle. We re-examined Lady Sarah's body, Aldrich said grimly. The healers originally ruled accidental death, impact from the fall, but when we looked closer, he gestured to a sketch. The bruising pattern on her wrists, defensive wounds on her palms, and this, he held up a torn piece of fabric, found clutched in her hand, silver thread, the kind used only in House Darkwater ceremonial robes. Elara's stomach turned. She fought back. She fought hard, Aldrich confirmed. The original investigation was incomplete. Or deliberately obscured, Kale said coldly. His silver eyes scanned the evidence with lethal focus. Who conducted the original investigation? Councillor Thane. Your Majesty. The name hung in the air like an accusation. Kyle's jaw tightened. Of course it was. There's more. Aldrich pulled out another document. 3 other betrothed females connected to House Darkwater over the past 2 decades. All died under suspicious circumstances. All investigations led by Thane. All ruled accidents. 3? Elara's voice shook. 3 women? That we know of, Kale said quietly, his fury carefully controlled. There could be more. The implications crashed over her. Cassian hadn't just killed Sarah. He was a serial murderer, eliminating betrothed who didn't suit him, protected by a corrupt counselor who buried the evidence. Why? She whispered. Why kill them? Power, Kyle said. Control. Perhaps they discovered something about him he couldn't risk being revealed. Perhaps they threatened to refuse the bond. His eyes found hers. Perhaps they were simply inconvenient. Elara felt sick. She'd been right to run. But she'd also been incredibly lucky. If she hadn't invoked the kiss of claiming. We need to confront Thane, Aldrich said. Arrest him before he warns Cassian. No. Kyle's voice was measured, calculated. If we move now, Darkwater will claim we're fabricating evidence to justify my claim on Alara. The Council will fracture. We need irrefutable proof. What more proof do you need? Alara demanded. The fabric, the wounds, the pattern. I need Thane to confess. Kyle turned to her. Or I need a witness who saw what really happened to Sarah. I felt what happened, Alara said desperately. Through my gift. I experienced her final moments. Her terror. Her knowledge that Cassian. Empath testimony isn't admissible in formal charges, Aldrich said gently. The Council doesn't recognize it as evidence. How convenient for murderers, Alara spat. Kale's hand found her shoulder, steadying. There might be another way. He looked at Aldrich. The night Sarah died, there was a full moon gathering, guest lists, guard rotations. Someone must have seen Cassian leave, seen him return. Timeline inconsistencies we can prove. I'll pull the records, Aldrich said, already moving toward the door. When they were alone, Alara turned to Kyle. He's going to kill me too. You know that, don't you? The moment he gets the chance. He won't get the chance. Kyle's voice was absolute. Alara, I swear to you, don't make promises you can't keep. Her voice broke. I've dragged you into this. Painted a target on your back. If something happens to you because of me, nothing will happen to me. He stepped closer, his hands framing her face. I'm 3 centuries old. I've survived wars, assassinations, plagues. I'm not going to let one corrupt lord destroy what I've built. He's not just one lord. He has allies. Thane, probably others on the Council. His father controls half the military. And I'm the Alpha King. Steel ran beneath his words. I didn't survive 3 centuries by being weak, Alara. Cassian Darkwater is dangerous, but he's also arrogant. Arrogant people make mistakes. What if his mistake gets you killed? The question hung between them, raw and terrified. Kyle's expression softened. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and through the touch, Alara felt his emotions, determination, protectiveness, and something deeper that made her breath catch. I'm not going to die, he said quietly, because I have something I haven't had in a very long time. What? A reason to survive beyond duty. His forehead touched hers. You kissed me to escape Cassian. But Alara, somewhere between that desperate kiss and this moment, this became real for me. Her heart hammered. Kyle. I know it's too soon. I know we barely know each other. I know this started as strategy and survival. His voice dropped to something vulnerable. But I can't stop thinking about you. About the way you saw through my walls in minutes. About how you touched my shoulder and felt centuries of pain I've never spoken aloud. I feel it too, she whispered. This pull between us, it terrifies me. Good, his lips quirked. Fear means it matters. The door burst open. Aldrich stood there, his face pale. Your Majesty, Lord Darkwater has issued a formal challenge. He's demanding a council trial by combat. Cassian against you for the right to claim Lady Alara. Kyle went very still. When? Tomorrow night. Full moon. Aldrich's voice was grim. If you refuse, they'll claim you're unfit to hold your claim. The kiss will be dissolved, and Cassian's original bond will be reinstated. Alara's blood ran cold. Trial by combat? That means... It means I fight Cassian, Kyle said calmly. To the death. The moon hung heavy in the night sky, full and merciless. Tomorrow, it would witness blood. Elara found Kyle in the training courtyard, moving through combat forms with deadly precision. Sweat gleamed on his skin despite the cool air. Each movement was controlled. Lethal, a reminder that beneath the king's diplomacy lived a warrior who'd survived 3 centuries of battles. "You should be resting," she said softly. He didn't stop moving. "I've rested enough." "Kyle." "He's younger than me." The words came between strikes. "Faster. Trained specifically for combat, while I've spent decades in council chambers." Another strike harder. "The odds aren't in my favor." "Then don't fight." Elara moved closer. "Dissolve the claim. Let me face Cassian alone. I'll find another way." "No." He finally stopped, turning to face her. His chest heaved, silver eyes blazing. "You're not going back to him. Not while I breathe." "That's exactly what I'm afraid of, that you'll stop breathing because of me. I'm not going to lose. You don't know that. I do." He crossed to her, and she saw it then. Not confidence, but determination. "Because losing means you die, and I won't let that happen." The raw honesty in his voice stole her breath. "Why?" she whispered. "Why risk everything for someone you barely know?" "Because you're not just someone." His hand cupped her face. "You're the first person in centuries who looked at me and saw past the crown, who touched me and felt the truth I hide from everyone else." His voice roughened. "Because when you kissed me, desperate and terrified, something in me woke up. Something I thought had died long ago." "What?" "Hope. That maybe I could have something beyond duty. Beyond obligation." His thumb traced her lips. "That maybe I could choose something, someone, for myself." Elara's eyes burned. "I'm not worth dying for." "Let me decide what I'm willing to die for." He leaned closer, his breath warm against her skin. "And what I'm willing to kill for." The promise in his words sent shivers through her. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of losing you. Of what happens if Cassian wins. Of—" her voice broke. "Of how much I've come to care about you in just 3 days." 3 days, Kyle murmured. "Such a short time to turn a world upside down." "Is that what I've done?" "Completely." His lips ghosted over her forehead. "The Alpha King who never wanted a mate, who spent centuries alone, who swore he'd never risk his heart." He pulled back to meet her eyes. "And then you ran into my hall and kissed me like I was your last hope." "You were." "I know." His expression softened. "But Elara, you became mine too. My hope. My reason to fight tomorrow night with everything I have." She reached up, her fingers threading through his hair, pulling him closer. "Then promise me something. Anything. Win. Survive. Come back to me." Her voice trembled. "Because I don't want this to end before it begins." "It won't." The certainty in his voice steadied her. "I've survived 3 centuries of battles, Elara. I'm not losing to an arrogant boy who thinks power means brutality. He'll fight dirty. I'm counting on it." Kyle's smile was sharp. "Dirty fighters are predictable. They rely on tricks because they lack true skill. And you have true skill? I have 3 centuries of experience. He lowered his head until their lips nearly touched. And I have something he'll never have. What? A reason to win that goes beyond pride. Then he kissed her. Not the desperate survival kiss from the hall. Not the gentle, almost kiss from the archives. This was claiming, passionate, real, a kiss that tasted of promise and fear, and something that felt dangerously close to love. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kyle rested his forehead against hers. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he whispered, "know this. You saved me before I saved you." How? By reminding me what it feels like to want something beyond duty. He pulled her close, holding her like she was precious. By making me remember, I'm not just a king. I'm a man. And this man, his voice roughened, this man is choosing you. Tomorrow. Always. Elara buried her face in his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong. Then fight like hell to keep me. I will. His arms tightened. I promise you, Elara. I will. But as the full moon rose higher, casting silver light across the courtyard, both of them knew that promises and determination might not be enough. Tomorrow, only one of them would leave the arena alive. And Cassian Darkwater had never lost a fight. The combat arena was ancient, a circle of white stone that had witnessed countless battles under countless moons. Tonight, it would witness another. Elara stood in the royal box, flanked by guards Kyle had personally assigned. Below, the arena floor gleamed silver in the moonlight. Hundreds of wolves filled the surrounding seats. Nobles, warriors, common folk, all gathered to watch their king fight for a woman he'd known mere days. The air hummed with anticipation and bloodlust. "This is madness," Captain Aldrich muttered beside her. "Trial by combat hasn't been invoked in over a century." Cassian knew exactly what he was doing, Elara said quietly. If Kale refused, he'd look weak. If Kale loses... She couldn't finish the sentence. Horns blared, silencing the crowd. Lord Brennan stepped into the arena's center, his voice magically amplified. "By ancient law and council decree, we gather to witness trial by combat. Lord Cassian Darkwater challenges King Kale Nightshade for the right to claim Lady Elara Moonwhisper." Cassian entered from the east gate, and the crowd roared. He was magnificent in his combat leathers, silver hair gleaming, moving with the confidence of someone who'd never lost. His eyes found Elara in the royal box, and his smile was pure predator. "You're already mine," that smile said, "and when I win, you'll pay for every humiliation." Then Kyle entered from the west gate, and the roar became deafening. He wore simple black, no armor, no ceremonial decoration, just lethal simplicity. But the way he moved, fluid, controlled, absolutely certain, made even Cassian's swagger look like posturing. Their eyes met across the arena. Kyle's gaze flickered up to Elara for just a moment, and in that glance, she felt everything he couldn't say. "Trust me. I've got this. Wait for me." "The rules," Lord Brennan announced. "Combat continues until submission, incapacitation, or death. Shifting is permitted. Weapons are not. The winner claims both victory and the lady." He paused. "May the moon guide the worthy." He retreated, and the arena fell silent. For 3 heartbeats, neither fighter moved. Then Cassian attacked. He was fast, blindingly fast. His fist shot toward Kael's face with precision born from years of brutal training. But Kael wasn't there. He'd moved a fraction of a second before impact, his counterstrike catching Cassian's ribs with devastating accuracy. Cassian stumbled back, surprised. Lucky. Calculated, Kael corrected calmly. They circled each other, and Alara realized what Kael was doing. He was analyzing, cataloging every movement, every tell. 3 centuries of perfect memory meant he only needed to see a pattern once to counter it forever. Cassian lunged again, and this time Kael let him connect, a glancing blow to his shoulder that looked worse than it was. The crowd gasped, and Cassian's smile widened. You're old, Kael. Slow. This will be easier than I thought. But Alara saw the truth through her gift. Kael had taken that hit deliberately, learning Cassian's strength, his preferred angles. Every strike was data, every exchange a lesson he was hunting. The fight intensified. Cassian shifted partially, claws extending, going for Kael's throat. But Kael shifted too, faster, smoother, and suddenly they were 2 apex predators colliding in a blur of silver and black. The crowd was screaming now, bloodlust rising with the moon. Cassian fought like a berserker, all rage and power and brutal efficiency. But Kael fought like time itself, patient, inevitable, wearing his opponent down with calculated precision. Then Cassian made his mistake. He went for a killing blow, overextending, leaving his left side exposed for a fraction of a second. Kael's claws found the opening, tearing through muscle and sinew. Cassian screamed, blood spattering silver stone. "Yield," Kael commanded, his voice carrying across the arena. "Never," Cassian snarled, lunging again despite his injury. This time Kael caught him mid-strike, his hand closing around Cassian's throat. He lifted the younger wolf off his feet, and the message was clear. I could end you. Right now. Easily. "Yield," Kael repeated, "or I finish this." Cassian's eyes darted to his father in the stands, to the council members watching in shock, to Alara, and in that moment, she felt his emotions through her gift. Not just rage, fear, raw, desperate fear that he was about to die. "I yield," Cassian gasped. The arena erupted into chaos, some cheering, others protesting. But Kael's eyes found only Alara. He'd won. He'd survived. But as Cassian was dragged from the arena, his final words carried to her ears. "This isn't over, little empath. Not even close." Kael's victory should have ended it. But that night, as celebration echoed through the palace, Captain Aldrich burst into Alara's chambers with devastating news. "Councillor Thane has fled, and he's taken evidence with him, documents proving Cassian's involvement in the murders." Alara's blood ran cold. "How?" "Someone warned him." Aldrich's expression was grim. "Someone on the inside. We're searching, but without that evidence we can't formally charge Cassian," Kael finished, entering behind Aldrich. He'd changed from his combat leathers, but she could still see the cuts and bruises from the fight. "And without charges, House Darkwater can claim this was personal vendetta, not justice." "There's more," Aldrich said. "Lord Darkwater has invoked the blood price. He's demanding compensation for his son's public humiliation, either gold, territory, or—" He hesitated. "Or Lady Alara's bond claim must be dissolved, and she must be returned to Cassian." "Absolutely not," Kael said immediately. "The council is divided, Your Majesty. Half support Darkwater's claim. They're saying you acted rashly, that the trial was legitimate, but the underlying claim, the kiss, was always questionable." Alara felt the walls closing in. "So Cassian loses the fight, but wins anyway." "Not if we find Thane," Kael said, "or if we find another witness to Sarah's murder." There were no witnesses, Elara said desperately. That's why he got away with it. That's why. She stopped, a horrible realization dawning. Unless there was. Both men turned to her. When I found Sarah's body, when I felt her final moments, Elara's mind raced. She was calling for someone, a name. I thought it was just confusion, but Maya. She kept thinking, Maya will know, Maya will tell. Who's Maya? Aldrich asked. Her lady's maid, Kyle said slowly. Disappeared the night of Sarah's death. Officially reported as having run off with a lover. Or was silenced, Elara whispered. If she saw something, if Sarah tried to reach her. We need to find her, Kyle said. Now, before Darkwater realizes she's a loose end. Aldrich nodded and left quickly. When they were alone, Elara turned to Kyle. You're hurt. She could feel the pain he was suppressing, the exhaustion he refused to show. I'll heal. Let me help. She moved closer, reaching for him, but Kyle caught her hands, stopping her. Elara, we need to talk. The seriousness in his tone frightened her. About what? About the fact that this isn't working. He released her hands, stepping back. Every time we get close to proving Cassian's guilt, another obstacle appears. Every time we think we've won, the Council finds a new law to invoke. So we keep fighting. At what cost? His voice rose slightly. How many more trials? How many more battles? How long before Darkwater simply has me assassinated and claims it was a tragic accident? Kyle, what are you saying? I'm saying maybe the Council is right. The words came out like they hurt him. Maybe I was rash. Maybe I let emotion cloud judgment. Maybe. He met her eyes, and she saw the exhaustion there, the weight of 3 centuries finally crushing down. Maybe you'd be safer if I dissolved the claim. Elara felt like he'd struck her. You want to send me back to Cassian? I want you to live. The words exploded from him. I want you to survive this, even if it means... His voice broke. Even if it means losing you. You're giving up. I'm being realistic. I'm one king against an entire system built to protect people like Cassian. And every day you're with me, you're a target. Every day you're in danger because I was selfish enough to accept your kiss. Selfish! Elara's voice shook with fury and heartbreak. You saved my life. Did I? Or did I just delay the inevitable? He turned away from her. Maybe the best thing I can do is negotiate better terms. Make sure Cassian can't hurt you. Ensure the Council monitors the bond. You actually think you can negotiate with a murderer? She grabbed his arm, forcing him to face her. You think promises will keep me safe? Through the contact, her gift flared, and she felt the truth beneath his words. He wasn't giving up. He was terrified, terrified of failing her, terrified of watching her die because he wasn't strong enough to protect her, terrified that 3 centuries of power meant nothing against corruption this deep. You're afraid, she whispered. I'm realistic. No, she cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. You're afraid to hope, afraid that if you fight for us and lose, it'll break you completely. His jaw clenched. Elara, I see you, Kyle. All of you. The king, the warrior. The man who's been alone so long he's forgotten how to let someone stand beside him. I haven't forgotten. His voice cracked. I can't lose you. Then don't let me go. The moment shattered as urgent footsteps echoed in the corridor. Captain Aldrich burst through the door, a terrified young woman clutching his arm. Your Majesty, we found her. Maya. The girl was thin, haunted-looking, with eyes that had seen too much. She trembled as she curtsied before Kael, her voice barely a whisper. "Your Majesty, I didn't know where else to go. They told me if I spoke, they'd kill my family. But I can't. I can't let Lady Alara suffer the same fate as Lady Sarah." Alara moved toward her, her gift sensing the girl's terror and desperate courage. "It's safe now. Tell us what you saw." Maya's words came in a rush. "I was bringing Lady Sarah her evening tea. I heard arguing, her and Lord Cassian. He was angry, saying she'd embarrassed him by questioning his honor. She said she'd found letters, evidence that he'd been stealing from House Darkwater's coffers, selling military secrets. She threatened to expose him unless he released her from the bond. And," Kael's voice was gentle but firm, "he laughed, said no one would believe her. Then Maya's voice broke. "He grabbed her, dragged her toward the balcony. I hid in the shadows, too afraid to move. I saw him push her, saw her fall, and then he saw me." Tears streamed down her face. "He said if I told anyone, my family would have an accident, just like Lady Sarah, so I ran. I've been hiding ever since, until Captain Aldrich found me." "You're safe now," Kael said firmly. "And your testimony will end this." Within the hour, the council was reconvened, forcibly, with royal guards ensuring attendance. Cassian stood in chains, his father beside him, both radiating fury, but Maya's testimony, delivered before the entire court, was damning. When she finished, silence blanketed the chamber. "She's lying," Cassian snarled. "A maid's word against a lord's." Combined with the physical evidence Captain Aldrich recovered, Kael interrupted coldly. "The fabric from Sarah's hand matches your ceremonial robes. The financial records show embezzlement exactly as Maya described. And we found letters in your own hand, negotiating the sale of military intelligence to our enemies." Lord Darkwater went pale. "Those could be forgeries." "They're not," Councillor Garrett said, one of the few honest council members remaining. "I verified the seals, the ink, the handwriting. Lord Cassian has been selling our secrets for years." The chamber erupted, but Kael's voice cut through the chaos. "Cassian Darkwater, you are hereby stripped of title, lands, and freedom. You will stand trial for murder, treason, and conspiracy." His silver eyes were merciless. "And when you're found guilty, and you will be, you will face execution." "No!" Lord Darkwater lunged forward. "You cannot! He's my son! He's a murderer!" Kael's voice rang with absolute authority. "And justice will be served. Take him away." As guards dragged Cassian from the chamber, his eyes found Alara one last time, filled with hatred and disbelief that his carefully constructed lies had finally crumbled. Then he was gone. Later that night, Alara stood in the palace gardens under the full moon, breathing in freedom for the first time in weeks. The nightmare was over. Cassian would face justice. She was safe, but something felt incomplete. "I thought I'd find you here." She turned to find Kael approaching, moonlight casting silver through his dark hair. He looked exhausted, but peaceful, the weight he'd carried finally beginning to lift. "It's really over," she said softly. "The immediate danger is—" He stopped beside her. "But Alara, you need to understand. The kiss of claiming can still be dissolved. Now that Cassian's threat is gone, you're free to choose whatever path you want." Her heart stuttered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you kissed me to survive, and I accepted because I wanted to protect you." His voice was careful, measured. "But now you don't need protection. You don't need me. So if you want to dissolve the claim, return to your old life. Do you want that?" She interrupted. "What I want doesn't matter. What matters is, do You want that. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. Cale's careful control cracked. No, I don't want that. I want... He stopped, struggling with words. I want you to stay. I want to explore whatever this is between us. I want to know if this connection we feel is real, or just born from crisis. I already know it's real, Alara said softly. I felt it the moment our lips touched. I felt it every time you protected me, listened to me, saw me as more than just a frightened girl running from fate. Alara, you asked me once what I felt when I kissed you. She continued. I felt hope, safety, home. She reached up, cupping his face. And I feel it still. Stronger now. Because you didn't just save me from Cassian. You showed me what it means to be truly seen. Kael's hands came up to cover hers. I don't want you to feel obligated. The claim was strategy, survival. It was survival then, she agreed. But now... She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. Now I'm choosing, really choosing. Not because I'm afraid, not because I need protection, but because when I look at you, I see my future. And it's beautiful. You barely know me, he whispered, but his hands tightened on hers. I know you carry the weight of 3 centuries with grace. I know you fight for those who can't fight for themselves. I know you're kind even when you think no one's watching. She stepped closer. I know you're lonely and tired and convinced you don't deserve happiness. But Kael, you do. His forehead dropped to hers. I've spent 3 centuries alone. I don't know how to do this, how to let someone in, how to be more than just a king. Then let me teach you, she murmured. The way you taught me to be brave. You were always brave. I just gave you a reason to show it. And you were always worthy of love. I'm just reminding you. Kael's breath hitched. Love? Eventually, she said honestly. If you're willing to try, if you're willing to let this claim become something real, something chosen not by moon law or strategy, but by heart, he finished. Then he kissed her. Not a survival kiss, not a political kiss, but a kiss that tasted of choice and promise and new beginnings. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. And through her gift, Alara felt everything he'd kept locked away, longing and hope, and the tentative belief that maybe, just maybe, he could have this. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kael rested his forehead against hers. I choose you, he whispered, not because of the claim, not because of duty, but because you walked into my life and reminded me I'm not just a king. I'm a man, and this man wants you, wants this, wants us. Then you have me, Alara said, smiling through happy tears. All of me, for as long as you'll have me. 3 centuries wasn't long enough to prepare me for you, he murmured. But I'm grateful every day that I have to figure this out. She laughed softly, and the sound made him smile. Genuinely, freely, without the weight of the crown pressing down. Around them, the garden bloomed in silver moonlight. The same moon that had tried to force her fate now witnessed her choice. The same moon that had bound so many now blessed those who chose freely. What happens now? She asked. Now? Kyle pulled back slightly to meet her eyes. Now we do something revolutionary. What's that? We build a future where no one has to run to a king's table to escape their fate, where omegas have choices, where bonds are chosen, not forced. His thumb traced her cheekbone. We change everything. That's a lot of work. Good thing I have 3 centuries of experience. His smile turned soft, and a brilliant empath to remind me when I'm being an idiot. I can do that, she grinned, among other things. Oh, his eyebrow raised. What other things? Keeping you humble, making you laugh, reminding you to rest. She pressed a gentle kiss to his lips. Loving you when you're ready to accept it. Kyle's expression turned serious. I'm ready, Alara. I've been ready since you kissed me and gave me a reason to hope again. Then let's build that future together, she whispered. One choice at a time. And as they stood together under the moonlight, the Alpha King and the empath who'd saved him, they made the most important choice of all. They chose each other. Not because fate demanded it, not because law required it, but because their hearts, free, willing, and brave, had recognized something worth fighting for. Love. True love. The kind that could change kingdoms. The kind that already had. The end. If you loved this tale of courage, choice, and a love that defied destiny, please subscribe for more moonlit romances. Let me know in the comments which character captured your heart, the lonely king who learned to hope again, or the brave empath who taught him. Your support means everything, and together we'll continue creating stories where love conquers all. Until next time, may you always have the courage to choose your own fate.